Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our October Planning Advisory Committee. I'll now call the meeting to order. And without further ado, we'll get right into the procedure for the evening. And first of all, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interests of the general nature thereof from anyone on the committee? Seeing none, thank you. Could I have an approval of the agenda as presented? Councillor McHugh, Mayor Harrison, any questions regarding the agenda? If not, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Now I would like a motion to approve the minutes of September the 19th meeting and entertain any questions, any errors, omissions that you might have found. Mr. Edison moves. Seconder. Mayor Harrison, any questions regarding those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, we'll get right into the public meetings. Public meetings are conducted as prescribed by Section 3413 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended for 2 zoning bylaw amendment applications affecting land in the Sydney Ward and 1 official plan amendment affecting land in the Murray Ward. The meeting will be conducted in the following manner for each application. First, I will identify the application being considered. Then I will ask planning staff to outline the application being considered. Then ask if there are any members of the public who have registered in advance to attend and participate in the meeting and have any questions or comments regarding each application. If there are no public comments or questions, I will ask the committee if they have questions or comments. And once the committee's questions have been addressed, the committee will consider and vote on each application. If you wish to provide comments, please state your name and address for the record prior to addressing the committee. The committee has been delegated the responsibility to conduct public meetings as prescribed under the Planning Act. A full report of the meeting's proceedings will be submitted to City Council on Wednesday, November the 20th, 2024. Council will make the decision on each stated application. Anyone other than the applicant who wishes to receive further notice of Council's decision on each application must submit a written request for notice of Council's decision to the Director of Planning and Development Services. I will now ask the Director of Planning and Development Services to please advise the committee on how notice of these meetings were given. Brian, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Notice of the application has been considered this evening. We're given in keeping with the provisions of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 as amended, by first-class mail on September 24th, 2024, and posting of signs on the subject properties on the same date.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll now proceed with the first public meeting of the evening, which is 7.1, Staff Report 24-071 PD, a zoning bylaw amendment application. The owners Trudy and Adrian Brugenhill and John and Jody Stonehouse. The agent is Frank Brugenhill. The address is east of 422 Glen Ross Road. The file number is D09/S30/24. Madison, would you like to address this application, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair. The purpose of the zoning amendment is to satisfy condition of consent application B18-24S, which was conditionally approved by the Committee of Adjustment on May 9th, 2024. Through consent application B18-24S, a 3.62 hectare parcel of land was severed for lot addition purposes and added to 416 Glen Ross Road. The effect of this rezoning application is twofold. First, the proposed severed and benefiting lands located at 416 Glen Ross Road would be rezoned to the Rural Residential Exception 86 zone, which would allow for the future construction of a hobby farm on the subject lands. The hobby farm could not exceed 4 nutrient units and must be located in accordance with the minimum distance separation guidelines. Second, the retained lands to the north of Canal Lane would be rezoned to the Rural Exception 59 zone to rectify an outdating zoning classification carried over from the Township of Sydney zoning bylaw and to permit a minimum lot frontage of 56 meters. The portion of the retained lands that are zoned rural residential will remain unchanged. It should be noted that this portion of the property received draft plan approval for a 4-lot subdivision in 2011, and it is our understanding that the property owner intends to fulfill the associated conditions. I will emphasize that the previously approved subdivision is entirely unrelated to this rezoning application before us today. But it does provide context as to why a portion of the property is remaining in the rural residential zone and why a reduction in lot frontage is being requested. So overall, this application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, the city's official plan, and maintains the intent of the city's zoning bylaw. This application is therefore recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much, Madison. I might add that there were some, I guess, questions. I don't know whether you want to address them. I know some of them were through emails and phone calls, I believe. I didn't know whether you wanted to maybe address them before we asked questions of the, so that people in the audience might be aware that might have some concerns or whatever.
Through you, Mr. Chair. There were two comments submitted prior to the staff report being written from neighbors nearby. So the nature of those kind of concerns were, is there any development being proposed on the north side of Canal Lane? So as I mentioned before, there's previous approval from 2011 for that draft plan of subdivision, but nothing is being directly proposed as a result of this zoning amendment. So I informed the neighbor of that, and they have not come back with any additional questions or concerns. And then the second one was kind of a similar inquiry regarding the property to the north of Canal Lane. And that property owner is the same one that had submitted that formal letter that was supplied to you. And they just wanted to know the nature of the proposal, as well as if there were any drawings available for the hobby farm.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have anyone in attendance other than the applicant who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Do we have anyone in attendance who wishes to ask general questions or in opposition? Would the applicant wish to speak? Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's no concerns or questions, I would entertain the consideration of the committee. As you've heard, the recommendation is to approve. A motion or any questions?
I'll make the motion.
Councillor Quinte, Councillor McHugh. Any questions or comments regarding the recommendation?
No, I don't have a question regarding the application, but I guess I'm just, Adrian, are you related to Frank? Yeah, I know Frank. Are you related to him? Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just going to say I sympathize with you. That's all. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got it all confused then, haven't I? Yeah, okay. I thought Frank had, no, it's okay. Thank you. Yeah, I've dealt with him longer than, yeah, most of you have gone to church, so. Anyways,
Okay, there's no further comments or concerns. All in favor of the recommendation? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, we now move to item 7.2, Staff Report 24-072 PD, Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application. The owner is Chris and Carrie Dockstader. The location is across from 926 Grills Road. File number is D09/S30/24. Ashley, would you like to address this application, please, for the...
Through you, Mr. Chair. The rezoning is a condition of consent application B36/23S, which was conditionally approved by the Committee of Adjustment on September 14th, 2023. Under the consent application, the Committee of Adjustment approved the severance of 0.42 hectares for lot addition purposes and added to the parcel directly to the west. This application proposes to rezone the subject lands from the rural residential and agricultural zones to the rural residential exception 87 and agricultural exception 31 zones. The applicant has requested that the parcel that is currently zoned rural residential to rural residential A7 zone permits the use of the property for farm-related storage and repairs. The agricultural exception 31 zone would permit a reduction in lot area from the 40 hectares required in the agricultural zone to 3.84 hectares. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, the city's official plan, and maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw. This application is recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much, Ashley. Do we have anyone in attendance other than the applicant who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Do we have anyone in attendance who has opposition or general questions regarding this application? Okay, thank you very much. If not, committee, I would ask that you consider the recommendation as presented, and I would entertain a motion or any questions. Councillor McHugh moves it. Mr. Brown, second. Any further questions regarding the application? All in favor? Carried, thank you. We now move to item 7.3, Staff Report 24-073 PD, an official plan amendment application, and the owner is 765471 Ontario, Inc. The agent is Jewel Engineering. The location is Harcourt Road. File number is D09/M31/24. Katie, would you like to address this application, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this application proposes to amend the City of Quinte West official plan and applies to 2 parcels of land located on Harcourt Road. The subject properties are currently vacant and their locations are shown on the key map. The purpose of this application is to amend the City of Quinte West official plan to create 2 site-specific policy areas. The first site-specific policy area would apply to the land situated on the northern end of Harcourt Road and would include provisions to recognize the use of a conventional gravity-fed sewer system rather than a sewer system that uses low-flow technology. Policies pertaining to Planning District 11D limit sanitary servicing to low-flow technologies. Therefore, any servicing option that does not utilize low-flow technology requires an amendment to the official plan. In this case, Jewel Engineering has determined that the subject lands can be serviced by conventional sewer rather than low-flow technology that has been used along the Telephone Road corridor. The city's Public Works Department has reviewed the application along with the supporting documents and have indicated they support the use of a conventional gravity system. The second site-specific policy area would apply to the land situated at the southern end of Harcourt Road and would include special provisions to recognize the use of a conventional gravity-fed sewer system, as well as the inclusion of multi-unit dwellings as a permitted form of housing under the low-density residential policies. At present, the city's official plan is generally silent on multi-unit dwellings as permitted form of housing, and thus are not considered under permitted uses in the low-density residential policies. By incorporating 2 blocks for multi-unit dwellings in the proposed development, the future subdivision could provide a range of housing types while also using land and infrastructure more efficiently. The proposed development would still be well within the low-density residential requirements as set out in the official plan. This amendment application represents the first steps in developing the subject properties as it ensures the policy framework is in place in order to proceed with residential development on a conventional sanitary sewer system. The development of both properties would require draft plan of subdivision applications and zoning bylaw amendment applications. Ultimately, the approval of this application would help to facilitate an intensification opportunity in the city's urban area. Overall, the applications are consistent with the provincial policy statement and generally conform to the intent of the city's official plan. The applications represent good planning and are therefore recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much, Katie. Do we have anyone in attendance other than applicant who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Do we have anyone in attendance who wishes to speak in opposition or have general questions regarding this application? Please come forward if you wish to entertain any questions. And I do note we have representative of Jewel Engineering here. Brian Keane is here to represent Jewel Engineering if you need any technical expertise, I guess. Yes, please come forward, state your name and address, please.
132 Harcourt Road. My name is Manfred. Does that have any, does that mean that it's going to be sewage and water coming up Harcourt Road?
I'll let staff address that.
Yes, through Mr. Chair, yes, the proposed development areas will be serviced by a full municipal sewer and water system, to service those sites. It hasn't been determined yet whether there'll be any additional service capacity available for existing development. That's still to be determined through the design process, but there will be municipal infrastructure, yeah.
Does that impact the existing residents on Harcourt Road financially?
To you, Mr. Chair, no. If through the design of the sewer system or the water system, there's an opportunity for existing residents to connect, then there would be a cost for that. But that would only be if they connect and only if the services have capacity. That hasn't been determined at this point in time. So if there's no connection, there would be no cost to the existing residents.
Okay, I think
Yep.
that's it then.
And maybe the other question, Brian, I know in some other water and sewer situations, it's been a mandatory hookup going down, and that's not the case. I think we should stress that probably.
Yeah, through Mr. Chair. Yeah, it can go either way. It can either be mandatory. Again, no decision made on that because that design work hasn't been done. But traditionally in Quinte West, there has not been a requirement for a mandatory hookup. Yeah.
Okay, anyone else, please come forward if you so wish. State your name and address, please, for the record.
My name's Harry Bickle, 11 Harcourt. I do have a question. I thought the application was, excuse me, the application was for like a septic bed system instead of the sewer line. Is that what basically they're trying to decide whether they're going to have a septic bed system or the sewer line?
Through Mr. Chair, no, this would be a sewer line. So basically, currently within this area of the city, all of the services obviously go to the main trunk on Telephone Road, and the capacity within that trunk means that new development for the last 10, 15 years, new development that attaches to that has to use what we call low flow technology so that you can time and limit the amount of sewer going into the main trunk, right? Basically, with work that's been done and is proposed to be done on Wooler Road, together with the way that development has played out over the last 10 years, this analysis has been done, and through the engineering work done by the applicant and the review of the city, these sites can be developed on municipal services. So this will all be piped sewer and water. It will not be septic fields.
Right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else, please?
I have one more question.
Yep, yes, come forward, please.
There's a lot of standing water halfway down Harcourt Road. Is that going to be dealt with?
Doug, from our engineering department, maybe you can address that.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, certainly, if there is a standing water issue, we can have a look. If you could just,
It's not going to get taken away by the sewer.
I'm just not aware of where the standing water is, so we would have to investigate. But by all means, let us know. You can reach out to us and let us know where it is. We'll dispatch someone out immediately to have a look. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, committee, if that's the case, I would ask that you consider the recommendation to approve, and I would entertain motion or any questions.
Well, I have a question, and I'd like to move the motion.
Okay, moved by Councillor Quinte and second by Councillor O'Neill, and have your question, sir.
So, this particular neighborhood, the older section was built, I guess, in the 60s or 70s, there is water issues where the water's sort of traveling from east to west, if memory serves me correctly. And I believe the gentleman was referencing the standing water is in the southern portion that's on this application. There's a treed area that's there, and I think that's what he's referring to as to where the standing water is. And so in the process that's going to happen, the developer will have to assess any standing water or any water flow, and then have to deal with it according to the process once they go through the development process. So right now, we're just amending the city's official plan to allow the developer to take those next steps in order to do that investigation. I believe I have that correct, and feel free to add in if I've missed something.
Brian or staff?
No, through Mr. Chair, no, that's correct. This is in the presentation, this is very much a first step. This is just to confirm that the the properties can move forward on the premise that they will be developed on conventional water and sewer system, municipal water and sewer system, without the necessity for the low flow, which would necessitate a pump station or grinder pumps, and there's various ways of doing that. So that's all that this does tonight. There will be future applications, the detailed engineering that will deal with issues such as existing water either on the sites or on the roadway, that will be a later point in the process. So the future applications will be required for zoning and for draft plan of subdivision and full engineering design. So those processes will take care of some of those more technical issues. And again, the other important point to mention there is they're public applications. They go through the same public process with notification. So there's opportunities for the public and committee to comment on those processes as we get there.
Okay, is satisfied, Councillor?
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions from the committee? Okay, it's been regularly moved and seconded. All in favor of the approval? Carried, thank you. Your comments regarding the applications and staff reports have been recorded and will be forwarded to the members of council together with the minutes of this meeting. Council will make a decision to approve or refuse each stated application at the regularly scheduled council meeting of Wednesday, November the 20th, 2024. We now move into public input, and I would remind anyone in the audience that's here for the MAC 5 presentation that will be coming up next. It's under public meeting process. This is the time to ask questions in that regard, if you so wish, under the public input, and then your comments will be included into the decision item that's brought forward tonight. So anyone who wishes to come forward and have questions about the MAC 5 proposal that will be coming up in our decision items. Please come forward, state your name and address, please.
My name is Dorothy Tate. I'm at 1404 Old Highway 2. When the proposal first came up for the 29-house subdivision on that small lot, I was unfortunately out of town, but I had submitted a letter. When I came back, I was able to see the committee that night, the meeting. My letter had not been read in council, so I can only presume that everything that I had to say was brought forward to the committee. Would that be correct in an assumption?
Certainly the staff presents us with a copy of all the correspondence, that's for sure. Yeah,
Okay.
and there was various comments, and a lot of them were the same of your concerns, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I answer your question?
Sure.
Yeah. I think if I remember correctly, your letter was on the agenda.
Yeah.
It was printed
Okay,
right in the agenda for everybody to read.
Yeah,
okay.
it was.
Because
So the letter was there, so.
Yeah, watching the meeting after the fact, it didn't really state that.
It did not, but but our staff have your letter.
Okay,
Yes, you're correct. They didn't read it, but it is there for everybody to read. So
Oh.
your letter is presented and it is on record.
okay. So then that evening, the MAC 5 group, they were the ones to ask for a delay or a postponement of this?
Deferral it was, yes.
A deferral. So is this back on? Like, is it the same proposal back here this evening that it was last month? For
Pretty
29
much the same,
houses?
yes, yes.
Okay. Do you know why they wanted a deferral?
I believe the staff, maybe get into technical details, I think they were looking at some other options, I believe, and I know we're going to have a presentation after the public input portion from the engineering group that, Big Larry, that is representing them, and maybe they'll explain it more, but maybe staff can explain up to this point in regards to the last meeting, what have you.
Yeah, I think at the last meeting, so it's not uncommon for applications, particularly large applications or ones that are quite complex, for us to bring forward the information without a staff recommendation. But last month, because of what had gone before, if you remember, there was a prior application with lots of public input. We were comfortable at the staff level bringing forward a report that both had the public meeting portion, but also presented a recommendation. At the meeting, the applicant and their consultant asked for a deferral just so that they could hear the public comments, have the opportunity to respond to them, to perhaps look at other options or responses that they could do to allay some of the concerns, and made the request to bring it back this month. So they effectively asked for the process that would normally run through, so really not a big concern, but it is the same application and it is the same proposal.
Okay. So, although I don't see my neighbors here this evening, I'm sure that if they could be, they would all be here because we are all against this proposal. And it really is hard for me to comprehend after everything that was brought forward, all of our complaints and all of our concerns the last time round. It's hard for me to understand that in reading like the planning department and the planning committee and their proposal, like they set out their guidelines and they had a draft before, but I heard on the radio that you have now got that all finalized, that the committee has finalized the planning, and it's in accordance with the provincial one as well. And I had read before that even the provincial one did not want this land touched till 2047. And your official plan had stated till 2030. And so it's hard for me to understand why we're even looking at this proposal when it should just be denied. Like, I know they have the right to bring it forward, but I don't have to reiterate everything that we've been against this entire time. Like, it makes no sense. And I was even going over, like, if they're trying to say, oh, we need more housing because, you know, we've got a lot of homeless people or people needing housing. Well, that housing isn't going to be for poor people. That property is going to be used to make money. And the other thing is, I was going through the Quinte's census. In 1871, there was a total of 1,996 people that lived here in Trenton. 100 years later, we had 14,589 people. In 1991, we only had 16,000, and then in 98, we formed Quinte West, which we got more population in. But in 2001, we only had 41,000 people living here. It's not like we are having a big, giant explosion of people coming into our community that we have to sucker everybody into one small, little tiny area and have, you know, people put one on top of the other. I think that the other concern, of course, we all have is environmental. And they have shown such disrespect to our neighborhood and to our waterfront and to the people living there. And it's really a disgrace. So I'm hoping, you know, you hire these wonderful people. They're all very well educated. They're the planning department. They know what they're doing. They know that this should not be approved. And I'm hoping that it's not going to go through. Like, there's just, I'm beyond words if this proposal gets approved. They should be treated the same way as down the road, across from the golf course. They wanted to build multiple living accommodation there, and they are allowed 2 houses. From what I understand, there's 2 houses currently on the property, and so currently they should only be allowed to build 2 houses. And they would have to put in all these roads. They want to, again, put in septic beds for all 29 houses, which, in accordance to the other property you were talking about, it's not legal. It's not allowed to be done where we live. So, yeah, like I said, I'm sorry that there's not more people here to fight against this. But I know we've fought here before, and maybe people are tired of coming and not being heard. you know? So, I don't know.
We do have other comments also that's been sent through besides your own, and it's on file, and some of them are the same people that had been here previously for the other two meetings, so
Yeah.
it's not being ignored. It certainly is on record, that's for sure.
Because are you proposing to make a judgment on this application this evening? Are you, is the committee going to be voting?
We do have a recommendation, and there's going to be a presentation from the developer first, and then the staff will give their report, and then this committee will decide on what direction to go.
Because I know in previous meetings when the people have made their reports, they have not been totally honest and in their reporting and things that they've said, and the people that live there next to this property know. So I still want to say, please, do not allow this to happen. It's wrong on so many levels, and it makes no sense, and it doesn't agree with provincial planning or Quinte West planning.
Okay?
Okay?
Okay, thank you. Did you want to make a comment, Councillor?
Yes,
And
please.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I'll make a comment. I missed part of your presentation, but I want you to know that there was a meeting with a developer and some other individuals, city staff and myself, at least, I would say 9 years ago. And the city of Belleville was there as well. And we talked at that time about building a wastewater treatment facility along number 2 highway. What's the name of the park there?
Stonecrest?
No, the park, not the development, the park, just across from
Potter's
Quinte
Creek there?
Conservation.
Potter's Creek?
Oh, down there.
Yeah.
Otter
Okay, so anyways, we at that time, we were discussing the building of a wastewater system, and that system would service the west end of Belleville as well as the property from Loyalist Road west along number 2 highway and along the Bay Shore. So that's 10 years ago. And at the time, Belleville decided that they would go ahead and they're developing on the west end, and they're putting pumps and pump systems in, which I think are in the neighborhood of multi-million-dollar project to develop down through there. So it's not something that hasn't been discussed, and don't ever think that something isn't going to happen or change. Because if somebody tells you that it's not going to change next to you, the only way you can control that is to own the property. And unfortunately, yes, we have an official plan, but that official plan is regularly updated, and we try to put in it the information that we feel is pertinent to the city for the next several years. But that doesn't mean an official plan amendment can't be made. And so anyways, I'm not trying to be discouraging, I'm only trying to be informative. So, thank you.
Councillor Concha?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to inform Mrs. Tate that all of the pieces of information from your friends and neighbors are still here. Just because they are not, that doesn't mean their comments are not going to be heard. They are. The second point is, you mentioned about the properties across from the golf course. Those properties that are across from the golf course, they are not in the South Sydney special planning area, so they didn't have to go through the same process. And there are 6 lots there, I believe. And I'm not aware if the houses that are currently there, I'm not aware if those houses are just on 1 lot or did they buy 2 lots, I don't know. But that's my recollection from that process. So because that piece of property is not in the South Sydney special planning area, it did not have to go through this particular process. So just like we already earlier this evening approved an official planned amendment for the previous applicant, all that's happening here is the Mac 5 and their Beleary group, they're just asking the same question, if they can make an amendment to the city's official plan. And the staff is recommending to deny the request for many reasons. And if you read through the city's official plan and specifically having to deal with the South Sydney Special Planning Area, all of the reasons to deny this application are printed right in the city's official plan. And if it comes to a vote, I am going to support the staff's recommendation at this time, that this is not the time to go ahead with developing this piece of property. Anyhow, I just wanted to respond to your comments made, just so you are well aware that everybody's opinion has been heard, and the Gary Group and the MAC 5, they also have the same information. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to respond to your concern, Mrs. Tate. The letter that you sent, I did read it, as I do any letter that comes across, and I'm sure I can't speak for everybody, but I'm sure it's the same. In addition to that, a little more than a year ago, this was up for proposal. It was actually a resort that was being proposed at that time. I keep my receipts. I've been through all my emails and everything. I've reread those emails from last, I think it was July. There was even written testimony regarding burning out some boat hulls. Okay, that's stored. Also, I think the most egregious thing was bulldozing all the debris from that land onto the ice of the Bay of Quinte. We had photographic evidence of that, pretty strong evidence. And then we have also the developer has a previous conviction for environmental offenses. And at that time, my vote was a no. And I had a very big issue with them running their own wastewater, considering that their attitude toward the environment was kind of a little on the apathetic side for my liking. And that's going to be my main consideration for this tonight, too. And again, echoing what Mr. Quinte said, that yes, the staff has recommended that it not be approved. So that's all the time I'm going to take right now, but I just want to assure you that, yes, you are being heard, and that's why we're here tonight.
Okay. Anyone else like to come forward and express any concerns or questions or opposition? Okay. All right, now hearing none, then we will move forward. I believe we have a representative of the Big Larry Group who wishes to address the committee and people in attendance here. So I would ask at this time if you would like to, Rochelle, I believe you're, as the lady that we have here, Rochelle Larocque, would you like to make a presentation to the committee, and then we'll move on from there. Bloody fly. You loser.
Can councilors hear me?
We can now, and we can see you.
Perfect. I was having an issue. I couldn't hear you either. So thank you very much, Chair and members of the Planning Committee. I will be brief. My name is Rochelle Larocque. I'm a partner with the Big Larry Group. I'm representing MAC 5 Corp for the proposed applications for the properties at 1436 and 1476 Old Highway 2. As you're aware, I was in front of council last month outlining our proposal, as well as listening to comments that had come in from the public. At that time, we'd requested a deferral to allow us to go back to regroup, to examine our application, as well as look for ways to bring it into, to respond to the comments that had come in from the public as well as the staff report that was prepared at that time. We have been working towards some modifications to the applications, particularly with the density of the proposal as well as the servicing solutions. Unfortunately, we have not had the chance to sit down with city staff, particularly Public Works. We've had some very high-level discussions with planning staff at this time. However, we haven't had the chance to fully show Public Works staff our proposal, partly due to vacation schedules on the city side. So at this time, we are requesting an additional deferral because the 1 month deferral was simply too short for us to put together a revised servicing solution, which would better align with what the official plan proposes, what staff's comments were, and then appropriately modify the development to recognize this new servicing solution. So we would like the opportunity to have these discussions, but we will need an additional deferral at this time to do so.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll, after the staff report, we'll present it to the committee for consideration, along with the other recommendations of staff. So is that all you have, Rochelle, at this time?
That is it. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you for your attendance. Okay, I'll now ask the Kelly West to give the staff report, please, in regards to this application, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. If the committee will indulge me, I'll just give a little background. So the purpose of the official plan amendment application is to designate the subject property from the future urban development area to a new site-specific policy area to permit the residential development on municipal water and private individual septic systems as the application was presented to us. The concurrent zoning amendment application would change the subject property zone category from its current development D zone to a rural residential exception zone for the proposed 29 lot subdivision on partial services with some site-specific zoning provisions. So yes, you will recall that we had last month at our PAC meeting, the legislative public meeting for those applications, and we had several members of the public provide both written and oral submissions. So in your agenda packages, I provided a supplemental report for these applications, bringing forth that same recommendation of denial to the applications. But I have provided in Appendix 2 in your package last month's report for you to refer to the various policies from both the provincial and our city official plan. The consultant also provided a PowerPoint presentation last month, which I don't believe that you had prior to her presenting that, so that is also included in your package as Appendix 1, I believe it was, for your reference. Looking at the public concerns that came in, I tried to categorize them, and I'll go through them just for the committee's benefit and for our official minute record. So they ranged from environment concerns, loss of agricultural land, housing supply, traffic, and servicing. Now, some of those concerns don't relate directly to land use planning and are outside the scope for our consideration on Planning Act applications. I note, though, that we did not receive any additional correspondence from the agents addressing any of these public inputs. So relating to the environmental concerns about the tree cutting, the clearing, the damage this activity caused to habitat along the shoreline and erosion controls, as well as some concerns related to the Bay of Quinte, increases in watercraft activity and the protection of water quality along the bay. As outlined in my report, the city does not have a tree cutting bylaw. So we don't really have a mechanism to control activities for removal of trees on private property. And Conservation Authority did provide us a review and indicated that adherence to the minimum setback of 15 meters from the 100-year floodplain should minimize impacts on the erosion hazards. And then comments related to watercraft activity, as I said, are outside of planning consideration. The property is also not designated as prime agricultural land. It is just rural lands, which are used for agricultural purposes, but just because it's used that way doesn't make it prime agricultural land. As well as the size of the property and its location really would contribute very minimally to the city's agricultural land inventory. Several comments were made in agreement of our existing policy framework and the vision that development in the future urban development area designation should not take place prior to 2030. I know Ms. Tate referenced the other date of 2047. So this application was made under our previous OP, which relates to that 2030 date. Our new OP does go out as far as 2047, but we have to go with the date when the application was submitted and the policies that were in place at the time. There were a couple comments about the lack of affordable housing in the proposed concept. However, given that the proposed built form, single detached residential units and their lot sizes, I think the achievement of true affordability would be unlikely. Public comments about traffic included concerns about traffic volumes and speeds existing along Old Highway 2, as well as the newly proposed subdivision's intersection with Old Highway 2. But the consultants did provide a traffic study concluding that trips that were anticipated to be generated by the proposed development would have a minor and negligible impact on the traffic operations, and that further only a stop sign at the intersection of Old Highway 2 and the subdivision road would be warranted. Concerns were also raised about hard and soft surface levels, and an internal department review of those types of services did not raise any immediate concerns, particularly around our water servicing levels and demands placed on soft services as a result of the proposed development would be addressed by those agencies that are responsible for providing those services. The policy change and the subsequent proposed development does not comply with our policy framework for both the provincial level at the PPS and the city's official plan, that the current designation is to hold these lands for future expansion of the city's urban boundary. Provincial policy directs development, as you're aware, to settlement areas. This is outside of a settlement area. The proposed servicing scenario being on partial services, as I spoke to last month, it's really on the lowest rung of the provincial policy servicing hierarchy. And the city's official plan mirrors that same provincial policy range. So by envisioning that the FDA lands, if I can shorten that down, would not be developed until 2030, and that full municipal services or a communal sewage system would be the preferred scenario, and that ultimately the policy framework sets out that we really should be doing it at a comprehensive level for all of the FDA lands when we talk about it being on a communal system, not just a communal system for a single little parcel of land. So therefore, these applications are considered not good planning and are recommended for denial, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelly. All right, committee, we have two options here. You've heard earlier, we have a request for a deferral again, and also we have the recommendations as presented by our planning staff to deny both both applications as far as regards to the amendment and the rezoning. So I leave it in your hands and what direction you want to go, and then we'll go from there, I guess.
I'd like to move the staff recommendation to deny the application.
Okay. Mr. Brown seconds it. Any further questions or comments? Councillor Kasovas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The one section that stood out to me was the loss of agricultural land. As staff mentioned, it's not prime agriculture. And my one question is, the plan does not permit, or it permits, limited residential development. So what's the actual number? What does limited mean? Is it 12 houses, 14? Is there an idea, or maybe Rochelle could answer?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can answer that. So in our policy document, it's one severance would be limited residential.
Okay. And then they asked for a deferral. I guess, again, maybe if Rochelle could answer. In that plan with the public's consultation, have they limited the number from 29 to a lower number? Have they considered that? Because, again, I'm just reading the limited residential. So if it got down to a number that the neighbors adhere to, no, nothing?
Would you like to answer that, Rochelle, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can answer that. As with all planning applications, it's a bit of a balancing act that we've heard from the residents that they would like to see fewer houses. However, the policies in the city's official plan speak to future development lands and lands being developed to maximize the use of the land. So would we be looking at reducing the number for 29? Likely not. It would be looking at how can we more efficiently use these lands, because we can look at alternative servicing solutions which would make the lot smaller and thereby meet the intent of the city's official plan as well as provincial policy.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee, comments?
Yeah, I got a question, Mr. Chair.
Mayor
if you
Harrison.
don't mind. I'm listening to all the information, and I know Stonecrest development has taken place, and it's going to expand. Is that correct?
Through Mr. Chair, the Stonecrest development still has phases to complete. It's not expanding based on new applications, but it is still under construction.
Okay, and just tell me, what has the province designated in terms of density per, let's go per acre in housing? What is the density per acre that they have recently indicated is appropriate?
Through Mr. Chair, so the densities locally get implemented through the city's official plan. While the province approves the official plan, they don't provide density numbers to us. They review our density statistics and then respond appropriately. But in our new official plan, so it's in hectares, so I'll have to do some head math here, but for low density, it basically depends on what level of density is. So within low density, so that's your very traditional single-family home style developments, it's 25 units per hectare, so roughly 12, 13 units per acre. For medium density, so that's where you start to get townhouses, small apartment buildings, that type of thing, it goes up to 67 per hectare, so around 34, 35 per acre. And for high density, there really is no upper limit. That's where you get that very high density, multiple level type development. So those numbers, I think, maybe to kind of preempt the point I think you want to make, is that through the provincial policy, our provincial policy direction over the last few years, all municipalities have been asked to raise their density levels across all residential development.
Yeah. But we also know that land isn't going to continue to be produced. We have so much land, and it's got to be used effectively and efficiently. That's what we're all up against, not just this particular proposal, but we're all up against that. I want you also to know the other aspect in this is in 2005, I went to Kempville, And that's where the first container system was put in place for a new subdivision. And you know what I'm talking about with the container
Wastewater,
system?
the wastewater.
Wastewater, right. The container system, which is your railroad containers that you see going on the tracks, they're used. And the first one that I saw, I think, came from Brampton to Kempville. And they were so solid that the delivery process, there was nothing that had to be repaired at all. And it's a membrane system so that you can, start out with so many houses as a capacity for that container, but you can add membranes to it, which will increase the capacity. And they're working. They are working. So, and what happens, the reason I asked Director Jardine with the capacity, because with, when you're using the septic system, you've got a certain level of capacity, but when you go to the container system and the membrane system, then you increase the density per hectare or per acre. And that's what happens. And the province is at this time telling us, there's money available, but you've got to reach a certain level of density and a certain level of growth to get that. And that's what we're up against. And, I understand that there are things in here that are, not official or not part of the official plan, but I go back to Stonecrest development, and that's the kind of development that you're talking about. And we also talked, or asked about, farmland and what is, the best, I guess, designation for farmland. Well, farmers all are our own worst enemies. We grow on whatever kind of soil we can use and get to use, and we add the nutrients that we need to add to make the crop profitable, or try to do that. Mother Nature helps us as well. So whether you look at this as being prime agricultural land or land, it is usable, it can be farmed, and it can produce a crop. Yes, it can. But are we looking in the future? Yes, someday, I likely won't be here, but there will be more development along number 2 highway. And I go back to Morris Rowlands, who built a beautiful homes on that south side of number 2 highway. He recently passed away himself, but he sold, and he has all kinds of trees and treed lots. And yes, I don't agree with anybody removing trees that don't have to be removed, because trees are the life, I believe, lifeblood of us and everybody that's, working with us, be it birds or whatever. So that's, I'm just, I guess, spouting off here. I think there are things that have been said here that are not accurate. That's what I'm saying. I think Stonecrest development is a fine example of what can be done, and the membrane system does work well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, Councillor Quince.
I'd like to follow up with Mayor Harrison. Yes, the Stonecrest development has been fantastic. I do agree with Mayor Harrison regarding the services. The wastewater facility there was built, and it has been expanded to accommodate more homes. They'll come at some point in time at the north end of that. But that Stonecrest subdivision is not located in the South Sydney Special Planning Area. It's not in there. So growth there is much easier for the developer to go ahead, and they already have their plans. The wastewater facility, if memory serves me correctly, I think that was either 2 years ago, we had to put some more money into that facility to get it to expand. And it also services the high school that's there as well as what's the medical facility there again? The hospice as well, and it could be expanded further, but these expansions are not cheap, and so my point on this particular application is that it is located in the South Sydney Special Planning Area. which in our city's official plan is not designated for growth of any kind at this point in time. It will be 1 day, but not 2 day. And that is my point on why I'm going to be supporting the staff's recommendation, that it's not time to develop this particular piece of property. The province of Ontario, as well as the city of Quinte West and many other cities, are focusing on growth in areas where water and wastewater facilities and transportation already exist. This particular application doesn't quite address the wastewater aspect. The water treatment plant that is located in Bayside is perfectly capable of supplying lots of water for lots of development. It has a great capacity to provide water. And one of the things the city did a number of years ago is we connected the Bayside water treatment plant to the Trenton water plant in case there was an issue. And then later on, we connected the Frankfurt water treatment plant to Trenton as well. So all three water filtration plants are all connected so that all the users will have some form of insurance should there be an issue at one of the plants. The other two can pick up the slack and help out. It won't be easy, but it can be done. And so there's lots of water supply. The highway, I mean, it's a 4-lane main corridor highway, and it can handle all kinds of traffic. So I hear the concerns that, yeah, it's going to create more traffic. Well, of course it's going to create more traffic, but the highway is perfectly engineered to handle lots of traffic. Sometimes when they close the 401, the traffic comes along there to get through whatever the issue is on the 401. So my concern here is just to follow our city's official plan, and someday we will address what can we do or where can we grow when it comes time to develop the South Sydney Special Planning Area. So there's my comments. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. If there's no other comments or questions, it's been regularly moved and seconded that we deny both recommendations, and I will now call the vote. All in favor of the denial? Opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you very much. We'll now move to item 12, printed information. We have the 12.1 monthly planning reports, the building department reports, and the committee minutes. And I would entertain a motion to approve all three, please, and entertain any questions you might have, Councillor, or I should say, Mr. Edison. I was promoting you say. I have a seconder, please. Mr. Brown, any questions or comments regarding those? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Non-printed, we have none. Requests for information?
No, sir.
Mike?
No, sir.
Dave? There?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Councillor Quinte?
I'm going to stay quiet tonight now.
Okay. And I will also do the same. I would like to thank everyone for your attendance and attention, and I would like to thank the committee and staff for all their hard work and input, and it's much appreciated. So we got you out of here just a little after 7, so we won't keep you too late tonight. So thank you, everyone, for your attendance. I have a motion to adjourn, please. Mr. Edison and Councillor McHugh. All in favor? Oh. Opposed? Oh, the whole work. Carried, thank you.